Hello everyone, welcome back. Uh, Now in this session we will have Professor Lakshmanan. He'll be uh, um talking to us. After that we will have an open question hour session where you can ask questions with both Dr. Khalid and Professor Lakshmanan. And you can also interact with Dr. Khalid after the talk. So I would like to I would like to introduce Professor Lakshmanan first. Professor C. Lakshmanan is currently an associate professor at Madras Institute of Development Studies, Chennai. Uh, MIDS is funded by Indian Council for Social Sciences, MHRD, and Government of Tamil Nadu. Dr. Lakshmanan studied BA and MA Political Science at Madras Christian College, Department of Political Science. Later, he did his MPhil and PhD at the Center of Political Studies, School of Social Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University. He has been consistently contributing for several reputed academic journals, peer-reviewed journals, and his works has been published by Oxford University Press, Sage Publications, and so on. He was jointly awarded by Tamil Nadu Progressive Writer Association for the co-authored book Untouchability Among the Untouchables, a case of Pudurai Vanners, Lives and Location, 2015. Some of the Professor Lakshmanan has also been involved in several fact-finding reports on caste atrocities, and his reports have been cited by the High Court of Madras. He has been member of many committees, including UGC Expert Committee. He is he has been a visiting faculty at JNU, Delhi University, Hyderabad Central University, and other state universities. He's also the national convener of Dalit Intellectual Collective, which is an inclusive forum engaging with the Dalit epistemology and emancipatory politics. So now I would like to invite Professor Lakshmanan to deliver his talk.
Thank you for a nice, generous introduction, and thank you for the opportunity. Indeed, it's my pleasure and privilege to talk to not only young but elite young minds of the Asian College. Caste understanding should go to the elite and young mind in an objective way rather than a subjective understanding. And it has been a formal invitation for in the last 20 years I received from Asian College of Journalism to meet students and interact with the student, the subject which are very, very vital and also complex. The caste, my theme of discussion today, because I'm going to discuss, not read out, and as Khalid and Semalar have eased my presentation because they covered some of the major points. The discussion I taken today is caste today. What is the nature and content and quality of caste today? Whether the caste was exist 500 or 400 years before or more than that, the same caste, the content and the quality and the salient features, all are the same or different. If it is different, what are the difference we understood and how this difference emerge is very, very important to understand. Before that, I start with the two instances which is very, very important. How many of you know that the secular India, how it started? Perry Anderson's Indian Ideology, chapter 3rd, Republic, starts with Nehru and his colleague sitting on a crossed leg in front of a holy fire. And Brahmins from Kumbhakonam with their posts brought to Delhi by special flight, and those Brahmins are chanting mantra, hymns, and the pose of the Brahmins putting a terminant tilak to the leaders of the day. And the date and time fixed by the then the best Brahmin astrology of the time, and Nehru stood up at 12 o'clock in the midnight, India touched with the destiny. Perry Anderson. And radical Ambedkar, Anand Teltumble and Suresh Jangde. Suresh Jangde is supposed to be here, but some other reasons he could not came. Anand and Suresh Jangde edited a book, Radical Ambedkar, where in 1956, Ambedkar died in Delhi. His mortal has to fly to Bombay for a funeral. And the Scheduled Caste Federation requested the government of India, then government of India, for a flight. But then government of India demanded full price ticket to carry the mortal, because at that time Scheduled Caste Federation did not have money for the full ticket, and they pay half of the ticket amount and carried, and later they paid the half of the ticket. I leave it to your interpretation, inference. So, if you want to understand the caste, what are the sources in which the caste understanding is restored? So I want to, because you are a young student and scholar and going to write on the society and politics and economy, so on and so forth, you should know where the source of caste understanding reposited. I have classified three kind of sources in which the caste understanding is reposited. One, Idigas, Vedas, religious texts, and Smriti and Puranas, epics. This is the one type of set in which you can get a caste reference and also understand. Second, colonial records, census, and anthropological studies, and so on and so forth. There are 4 or 5 set of resources in which we will get a more detail and information about caste, which are diverse in the form. And also recently we will have a literature, particularly biography, autobiography, fiction, short stories, poetry, and so on and so forth. Another source of caste understanding is in the form of visual film, documentary film, short film, and commercial films, and also art, paintings. And if you see the Savi Savarkar's painting and even cartoon, where you can understand, these are the visual representations of caste and its politics. Similarly, we have to know, in order to understand the caste today, we should know the 5 landmarks happened in 1990. 5 landmarks. What are those 5 landmarks? 1, implementation of Mandal Commission. 2, the controversy, demolition of Babri Masjid. 3, introduction of 73rd and 74th Amendment. 4th, Baba Saheb Ambedkar's centenary year. And 5th, deregularization of Indian economy. These 5 landmarks has to be squarely understood in terms of understanding how caste today, how caste dynamics today. I will go by one because the introduction of Mandal Commission made a floodgate in discussion on caste. Before Mandal Commission, caste discussion in the classroom refined to reservation, at least some atrocities like somewhere major atrocities on Dalits. Apart from this, caste did not have a deeper and square understanding and discussion in the classroom and even major text. But post Mandal, after a Mandal, caste discussion is completely, classrooms are occupied, public platforms are occupied with this completely more detailed and square debate and discussion on caste, not only in sociological, political, economic, and cultural, and multi-level of debate and discussion happened after Mandal. The third one is 73rd and 74th Amendment, where the local governance, what Gandhi claims that India lives in a village. And these two amendments reflected how deep the caste in the villages, how caste is rooted in the people's mind, ingrained into the people's mind. And particularly when Semala referred to Tamil Nadu politics, Tamil Nadu could not conduct several years for a Panchayat election. And there was a murder, and there was a severe backlash. And it has completely made the Tamil Nadu Dravidian politics, anti-Brahmin politics, is a major question mark. I always make an observation that there is a qualitative difference between anti-Brahmin politics and anti-caste politics. So, similar made a reference, anti-Brahmin politics and anti-caste politics. Tamil Nadu did not have, particularly the Dravidian movement was not anti-Brahmin, anti-caste politics. Prior to Dravidian movement, Ayodhyadas and others have consistently made anti-caste politics. Annihilation of caste is a central fulcrum of their movement and politics. So, this has happened in 1990s after introduction, because this debate has come after introduction of this 73rd and 74th Amendment. And Baba Saheb Ambedkar centenary celebration and give a lease of life for the Dalit who are second generation or first generation, they educate. Earlier they feel humiliation, indignity in terms of expressing their identity in a public and claiming their own identity, claiming their own self. Ambedkar used to say this, the success of the caste is a self-denigration. Why I born in this caste? Like a woman used to say, why I born as a woman? So Ambedkar was squarely understand it's a self-hatred created by the caste structure. So first time in 90s, people have come out openly. I am a Dalit. And Dalit is a dignified, like a black is beautiful. Such an argument has come out because of Ambedkar's centenary. If I use Professor Gopal Guru's phrase, what Ambedkar movement and politics did, it's a rejection of rejection. What you are rejecting, I am rejecting, rejection of rejection, that one should read Gopal Guru's the edited volume, Humiliation, Claims and Context. So Ambedkar's centenary made a very, very positive and aspirational hope in the Dalit movement and Dalit politics. And also, when I say Dalit movement and Dalit politics, is a annihilation of caste, it's a center. Professor Raj Gautaman is a Tamil professor and who was a very, very reputed scholar in Tamil Nadu. He wrote in 2004, Dalit Politics, a small booklet, where he said that the caste articulation taken, three type of caste articulation taken place across India. What are those three type of articulation? One, articulation just simply negate caste doesn't exist. There is no caste. And therefore caste is a myth, untouchability is a myth, nothing. We say all are equal. Now everybody is, where is the caste today? So such a blatant rejection or negation of the reality, the objective condition. 1992, one of the seminar, because it's a personal note, one of the seminar in JNU, Professor Bipin Chandra was sharing, it is on creamy layer. I can take a name, I don't have any fear, because I questioned him directly. So after the seminar, Bipin Chandra said, no, caste and untouchability are all myth. It's not a reality. This is all the vote bank politics and petty politics. What is a crying baby? All these things. Then I stood, I raised my hand, Mr. Bipin Chandra, not Professor Bipin Chandra. Mr. Bipin Chandra, I read your text for a UPSC purpose. I imagine that you have a great historic sense. But after listening now, I doubt you have any sense of history. JNU is not India. Delhi is not in India. Please come to my village. I will show you what is caste and what is untouchability all about. In a government school, I used to get a water in a cupped hand to quench my thirst. Is it a reality or a myth? Bipin Chandra ran away from the seminar hall. This is a reality. So not pricing this, because this is a debate. Caste was how the intellectual, the academic has pursued and trying to understand the caste. They did not genuinely trying to understand the caste in any sense of the term. Therefore, we need to engage the caste in a very, very objectively. I'm not saying that you should have a subjective. You should have because it's not all Brahmins are bad or Dalits are good. No. The Brahminical mindset exists every one of us. What we can try, we have to transcend. We have to transcend, or we have to control our subjectivity and respect the fellow human as a fellow human. Give them a dignity. Give them respect the dignity of labor. What is the caste? It is an enclosed class. The birth determines your prestige, power, and your position. Whatever the merit, whatever your skills, doesn't matter. Even after educating from Columbia University, Baba Sahib Ambedkar was not allowed to drink a glass of water in a pot in his office. This is a reality. It's not a 200 years. Okay, so what the point which I want to emphasize, this 5 landmark, particularly this fifth one is deregulation of Indian economy, which is rarely and very, very thinly debated, the interconnection and dynamics between caste and economy. But after 1990, deregulation of economy, caste being analyzed and understood in the interface and dynamics of economy and caste. This 5 landmark is very, very essential in terms of understanding caste. And how this caste today is come. Because caste was not a uniform all India phenomena into pre-colonial. Pre-colonial time, caste was not a uniform institution which exists in Tamil Nadu and Jammu and Kashmir. The two projects which colonial power did, one is enumeration of population, namely census, and second one is Max Muller's project to translate the classical text and Smriti and Shastras into English and also legitimize the text. These texts are somewhere in the garbage or somewhere in the cold storage. But Max Muller took it, the colonial power took it, give them a lease of fresh life and made the caste as we understand today. It's not all the untouchable today, what you call Dalit, are doing the same occupation, are doing the same kind of, facing the same kind of socio-economic discrimination. So what the census did, they want to, for administrative purpose, they put a classified caste into whatever they're convenient, they put it. And third census, till the third census, if anyone read Ubendra Bakshi and Marika Vishne, Rights of Subordinate, 1996, one of the Rights of Subordinate People, one of the seminal work. And they made a very intriguing observation that first census and second census, the enumerators simply put them the large size of population, particularly outcast, casteless. And there is a non-Hindu or a outcast. This is what they recorded. But third census, overnight, they put all are Hindu. Ayothidas Panditer is recording this fact. And also, during colonial time, this census made, for a convenient administrative purpose, made some kind of uniformity and make the people into, as if all the scheduled castes are the same. That is why I said caste is a local, regional, specific. We have not able to we have not squarely studied what are those specificities, regional specificities, what are those complexity in the region. It's not a caste that what the post-colonial India or colonial India is represented. Caste was understood minimally through reservation policy. Most of the post-colonial time, caste was discussed and debated reference to the reservation. Not more than that. Caste is more than that. It's not simply reservation alone. Reservation is a small panacea. And also reservation people now, one of the world number one fraudest things happen is EWS, economically weaker section. This is a world fraud number category without any scientific and rational. When the frauds are ruling, then only the fraud category can be come out. Tell me, where is the data? What is the data in which you have created this category? During Mandal Commission case, Indira Sagni and Mandal, and Supreme Court made a limitation. More than 50%, one should not cross the 50% of the reservation. 7 bench judgment. If you want to overrule the 7 bench judgment, you should have a 9 or 11. But now the 5-member bench is declaring in the EW is valid. And we are all having ourselves, okay. It is a constitution, anti-constitution. Anti-constitution means anti-national. Who is anti-national? Okay, so reservation, through reservation, lens of reservation, the caste was minimal understanding. And it is not, reservation is not for the age-old discrimination or prejudice. as I cited two instances in the beginning, Baba Sahib Ambedkar and the special flight for a Brahmin to Delhi. Is it age old? Drafting chairman, law minister, and this the contribution to the society is enormous. Today, anyone think of development because it's all recorded. Cambridge and also UN and IBN survey, who is after Gandhi the best great man in India? It is proved. Survey proved and intellectually. Ambedkar, nobody can deny now Ambedkar's contribution, Ambedkar's ideal to save us from the Hindu Rashtra. If you want to save from Hindu Rashtra, is the only ideal can save you from Hindu Rashtra is Baba Sahib Ambedkar's ideal and philosophy. But unfortunately, even preamble was read only after CAA came to the introduced by the Modi government, BJP government. If CAA was not there, even preamble was not read. Only started now, preamble only people have started reading preamble. So, caste in the pre-colonial and earlier, it is regional specific and local specific. And post-colonial, colonial power and the state, colonial state, greatly damaged the population enumeration by homogenizing the categories. And what we should have done, the post-independent India should have decolonized those categories and reinvented, because this I am referring to 2015 Supreme Court judgment when the claim for a Jat inclusion in the OBC list. And Supreme Court rejected the claim and also made a very emphatic observation that the state has failed to find out alternative way in which people's backwardness can be measured, and people's the state intervention could be provided other than the caste category or other than the caste background, or including caste can be kept in the last category, but there could be a new way of enumerating the population. It's possible. We never thought of. Our economists never thought of. If you read Census India, you will not find a category called agriculture worker is there, cultivator will be there, but landless agriculture worker may not be there. It is not there. Not may not be. It is not there. So agricultural, landless agriculture worker could be a Dalit, could be a OBC, could be a MBC. In a rural India, if you enumerate a rural India, you do it. In urban India, you find the alternative category. But we have not done it. Therefore, what we have done in the 2012, Tamil Nadu has seen a severe violent, continuous Paramakudi, then Dharmaburi, and mass killings and arson. So as academics, as this thing, how we can respond to this kind of social upheaval or social violence against Dalit, atrocity against Dalit, and a group of our friends joined together, and we tried to theoretically understand the caste, how it is evolved today, and the dynamics. Then we come out with a small manifesto, Caste Today, and it is in Tamil only, and where we argued this, whatever I was narrating or discussing earlier, this is we argued in the book. But more than that, what has happened, if you read Ashwini Deshpande, Grammar of Politics, and S.K. Thorat, a book on black economy, we will find out how the caste and economy is interface and dynamics, and this was not overtly or squarely debated. Only reservation was debated. And also recent 2018, David Mose, Modernity of Caste and Market Economy, Modern Asian Survey. It's a special article. Brilliantly, because what David Mose call it as invisualizing caste in economy. Invisualizing caste in economy. And if you, because very few people try to understand caste and in the mode of production perspective. One is Surya Jaiswal from JNU. She wrote this book, took completing this book 20 years or 25 years. Each chapter took 5 years or so. So one of the classic work on caste, and she has understand the caste in terms of mode of production perspective, which is very, very essential. And before that, Lakshmi Narasu, one of our lived in Chennai, who is the principal of Pachepan College and professor of Madras Christian College, Lakshmi Narasu, a study of caste. In 1930, this book has come, but recently the reprint has come, available in online. You can Amazon, it's available, and where he is giving a canvas, not only in India, what are the different type of similar castes exist in other countries, Europe and Western and American countries, and even African countries, and also Arab, South Asia, and Islamic countries. There is a hierarchy, but that hierarchy, every society has a hierarchy. But in India, it is a graded hierarchy. If you go, you are revered. If you come down, if you are condemned. In the hierarchy, if you go up, you will be revered more and more. Your privilege and prestige position will be increased. Respect will be increased if you go in the hierarchy upper. In the hierarchy, if you come down, and it will be condemned. That is why Baba Sahib Ambedkar called as a graded inequality. Baba Sahib Ambedkar's Origin and Development and Genesis of Caste, the essay he wrote in 1920s, and where he said the caste was persistent because of two major reasons: endogamy and law of imitation. Endogamy and law of imitation. And in terms of eradicating or annihilating caste, modernity and democratic politics was the panacea. Modernity, it is entailed the value of self-respect, democracy, rule of law, secularism. But we have understood the modernity as a colonial modernity. Our intellectuals, the academics simply, no, that is colonial modernity. What Periyar talked about, what Baba Sahib Ambedkar talked about, what Pule has talked about. If you read Gail Omelette, Dalit Vision, small 100-page book, Dalit Vision, Gail is giving a complete overarching picture about the democratic political movement which existed during colonial time, and the content and the quality of the fight, the struggle which they led. So, after Mandal, caste was two kind of accession takes place. One, I said Dalit accession. Another one is Hindutva and the caste pride. Hindutva is encouraging because every caste come out with certain kind of a pride because we are a ruler in the past. Now we are come to this level. So the caste 19th and 20th century, as we consider, is a renaissance of caste formation. For what? In order to draw the benefit from the state. In order to, because that is what the data was, even if you read the non-Brahmin manifesto, if you read the non-Brahmin manifesto 1912, and they gave a similar data. Brahmin occupied in a university, Brahmin position in this and that. And then they demanded the colonial state to provide us certain amount of seats, certain amount of provision, education, employment, and other opportunities, equality of opportunity. Because only which the state is responding. So that is why the similarly placed and similarly practicing occupation group come together and made the group and demanding the state provide us a certain provisions for our upliftment. After Mandal, what has happened? Every caste, Patel is demanding include in the list. And in Maharashtra, Marathas are demanding. And similarly, because that is what the caste, because caste, the contemporary caste, no one shy away the claiming of caste. Everybody feel the caste is a pride. Once, at least in early 1990s, people have feel shy, not only Dalit, but also others also feel shy about in a public place claiming caste. Today, caste become a pride. Annihilation of caste is completely left out. And this led to the political formation. Why VCK exists in Tamil Nadu? Because the mainstream, so-called mainstream political party genuinely addressed the concerns of the poor, concerns of the marginalized, concerns of the Dalits. And not only address, but also the system, electoral system, which provides a panacea that reserved constituency, MLAs, MPs are not allowed to speak in the parliament, in the assembly. And the political party completely undemocratic. There is no internal democracy. There is no diversity within the political party. You may have a reserved constituency, MLAs in the assembly, in the parliament, but you do not have adequate state or a district president or a executive council member in the party deciding the forum which decides a party policy and program. In a democracy, political party governs the people, decides the policy. If a political party itself is undemocratic, unfair, what kind of policy they will formulate in the state? Therefore, the caste-centric party has come. Why PAMAKA, Patali Makkal Kachi, came to exist before 1990? It is a one-year Sangam. One-year Sangam is a major demand and struggle was the reservation in the BC category utilized by only 5 in the backward class. 5 numerical caste number, because recently Hindu has published an article by Vengat and it has come out with the data saying that only 5 backward caste within the larger backward class category, 5 group has completely enmassed the benefit and rest of the benefit not reached. Therefore, Ramadas demanded we should be given reservation, create a separate category and provide a special quota, 20%. So now Tamil Nadu come out with a 20% MBC, most backward class. After the result, the movement has succeeded, this become a political party. So why caste-based political party come into? And BJP is another encouraging the religious fundamentalism and fascist policies and encouraging caste group to come up. And throwing some trolldom. some district president, now the president of India. Is president of India allowed to go anywhere freely? No. She has been restricted not to enter in some of the places. So this is where the caste today is taken a completely new shape, and annihilation of caste completely negated or forgotten. The Indian constitutional program objective is create a casteless society, and Indian state program of political philosophy that we should democratically, no, the state is the instrument of democratic social transformation. Whether the state is doing that democratic social transformation or not. If not, now every caste coming out with the pride and demanding the state benefit and provisions, and also now after 75 years or 70 years, now they are going to enumerate caste-based census. Because earlier, whatever form and content the caste exists, it was not politically legitimized. It might be religiously legitimized. They might be, the caste has been religious sanctioned. But politically, legally, caste was not legitimized till the census enumeration. Caste was legitimized legally and politically after census enumeration, and this is continue. Unless until we have to delegitimize the political legitimation of caste and form and invent or discover alternative how to classify the population, or categorize the population minus caste, then you will understand, then is possible annihilation of caste in near future. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.
Yeah, so to Professor Dr. Lakshmanan, the last point you stated was making a census enumeration where without any caste, but talking about Tamil Nadu, particularly the rural Tamil Nadu, the distinction or the discrimination is even based on region. Like, there is like this Kirur, Melur, or Tekkur, Vadakur, all that. So how, like, in urban, in my observation, since we are like, like together, this region-wise discrimination is not very predominant or pertinent here. But going to the rural, like, by the place where you are born or where you are come from, you are discriminated. How will that even end? Like, I think I made my point.
Yeah, we may not get an immediate result. Okay, in maybe because my village may be recognize me as what particular community or caste group I belong. But if I come out of my village and without my certificate, caste mark certificate, and I am as other, and I can move because nobody will identify that I am born in particular caste or so. But there are ways in which they could find out, but it is a long process. But in the village also what is now, because of the why the caste formation, why the because the scarcity of time I am not elaborate the point which why caste arrogant killing, I don't call it honor killing, caste arrogant killing happening. Why violence happening? Because the public resource become a major crunch. The state is giving a completely major economic resource, state resource to somebody else. And the corporate class or a business class and so on and so forth. Poor and working class, the state is completely left out addressing anything concretely. Whatever the the societal problem, the immediate ready-made panacea is provide reservation. Women's representation, women are suffering, give them 23-point reservation. And if, others, minorities problem, give them reservation, though they are not giving. But reservation become a ultimate panacea, and which is not actually. If you read Agnises Kaka's paper on tribal question, and he says 1951, what was the literacy and educated population of scheduled tribe? How can they utilize the available, the stipulated percentage, 7.5%? Till 75, the tribal population hardly able to utilize the constitutional provision. Because you have to have a 20 years or 25 years to equip yourself, educate, get education yourself, then only you can avail the provision. Similarly to the Dalit, a scheduled caste. But we are completely focusing as if the reservation is snatching somebody's right, as if this reservation is for a charity, and because now nobody talks about merit and efficiency, because the EWS stopped that debate. Because earlier this is a debate which come out. So in a village it will happen, but the state supposed to behave, state official, meaning state and political party and ruling class should adherence to rule of law, not rule of culture. But now the state and political party mostly adherence to the rule of culture. And what culture we have, I leave it to your inference. Thank you.
My question is to Khalid sir. Sir, we don't see Pashmanda movement or Pashmanda resistance when it comes to electoral politics, right? In past elections, the Muslims had voted at Muslims because of the security concerns. So, and now we see the BJP is trying to approach the Pashmanda. And when you see all the political pundits and everybody, they openly talk about the caste in Hindus, Yadav, how much Yadav is voting, how much this caste is voting. But when they talk, when it comes to Muslim, they just talk as Muslims, see voters as Muslims. So now BJP is approaching the Pashmanda. You see that in future, Muslim can able to vote as based on the caste identity over religious identity.
Yeah, so for example, there have been instances where Pasmandas have voted uh, in divergence to mainstream Muslim voting. For example, if you look at 2005 elections, when Lalu Yadav's RJD, it was defeated by JDU. So the Muslim Pasmanda vote, it shifted towards JDU because Nitish Kumar, it promised, it started having an alliance with Pasmanda Muslim Mahas at an unofficial level. And there was around 10 to 15% vote shift uh, in Bihar. So it is still a nascent, it's a new movement in that sense. And there is always a gap between the enactment of a new identity and movement and its sedimentation when the electoral presence starts being felt, right? In the recent UP elections, 8% Muslim votes went to the BJP in the recent UP state elections. But from the way BJP and RSS pracharaks, they are doing outreach with the Pasmanda Muslims in Uttar Pradesh, even if there is a shift from 8% to 20%, right? So the opposition will collapse. Those who think that Muslims are a captive vote bank and they can use communal riots. So Ali Anwar uses the word bhay dohan, profiteering from fear, right? So Pasmandas, I mean, most of them think we have had enough of this. Let us negotiate with political parties, irrespective of the framework of communal violence and so on and so forth. So there's a new consciousness which is emerging, and the lower caste Muslims, they're trying to bargain across political parties. So whether it will be effective in the coming elections, one cannot predict. But there is work happening on the ground. Pasmanda activists are also mobilizing, as are other parties. So let's see how it pans out.
My question is that one of the biggest dreams of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was to see a lower caste person or a Dalit person sitting on the most powerful chair of India. So last year, a tribal woman became the president. Even the former president was a Dalit. So my question is very clear. Like when we are going to see a Dalit person becoming the prime minister of India, because if Britain can accept an Indian origin prime minister, then why can't we Indians accept a lower caste person or a Dalit person becoming the prime minister of India?
See, one is a symbolic representation and another one is actual representation. And really that President of India today is representing the tribal, can see, speaks the voice of tribal and can see influence the state, the government policy towards tribal women. The moment he speaks out, he will be impeached or maybe mostly impeached or even eliminated. That is because if you, this all symbolic in order to appease or in order to depoliticize the tribal population, depoliticize the marginalized population. The politicization is about everyday objective condition of the tribal in the country. Can the President of India can speak? Or even IAS officer or minister, as I refer, all MLAs and MPs in the parliament and assembly, the political party whip won't allowed to speak for the right. In the 75 years of Indian political history, Chundur, 1991 Chundur massacre brought 110 MPs together in Delhi. 3-day demonstration was happened and 110 MPs trying to meet then President Mr. Venkataraman. Mr. Venkataraman refused to meet 110 MPs of the reserve constituency. That is the first unity which ever in the political history came in. If the 10 MPs that day resigned, India would have witnessed a real revolution. But the unity was not sustained even half an hour. And immediately all MPs are gone and political parties are given the warning and everybody went up. And that is why I said, if you really want a democratic social transformation, political party should be a democratic in their entire structure, govern the decision-making body. There should be a diversity in the governing executive council. There should be a diversity in the district level president or state level president. All those functions, even women, Ms. Jayalalitha was a chief minister. She gave a 30 or 33% post, district post for a women. And also during her period only, Tamil Nadu assembly witnessed more women in the assembly. This is possible because we don't want symbolic. This symbolic representation depoliticize the marginalized community. And even now, we are all fighting for a reservation only. Organized employment today is just 3%. Organized employment, organized employment is just 7% according to Arjun Sen Gupta committee report. If you disaggregate private and public, only 3% in the public employment, only where your reservation is applicable. 4% of the private sector, there is no employment. And entire energy of entire marginalized people goes on fighting for this, and we are completely unable to understand how this economy worked out, how political economy worked out. That is what the David Moses modernity of caste and market economy. But we have even Ashwini Deshpande, grammar of politics. Because even text was not available or even classroom, because we have made several attempts because knows how UDSF was very, very vocal and vibrant during 1990s in JNU. Till 1992, JNU has only 2 volumes of Ambedkar and few books of Dalit literature. And the university claims most progressive university. He was citing Aligarh Muslim University faculty strength. Till 1996, JNU, out of 600 faculty member, only 4 or 5 SC, ST. And in admission, reservation in admission for MPhil, PhD, MA program, it's not crossed 10% of the fulfilling the reservation policy, admission policy. 22.5% supposed to be the representation given to Dalit student, Dalit and tribal, but only 10%, which is struggle. Now they realize that how to depoliticize the population. Now Hindutva is carrying out. You have a celebrate your caste pride, caste heroes, and caste ritual, and for which they found out people like the president one who's there, and this is a symbolic representation also sometimes means, but that alone is not enough. We have to concretely and genuinely address the problem. Unless until we have no hope, 2024 is a climax for Indian democracy. And that is another topic I don't want to go.
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for insightful talks, both Dr. Lakshmanan and Dr. Ansari. So my question is to Dr. Ansari. You mentioned displacement of semantic categories of minority within minority. So could you elaborate a bit on that? And in that context, could you also talk a bit about how the question of gender is addressed within the Pasmanda movement?
Okay, so when I was talking about, so I was referring to this literature on minorities within minorities or internal minorities. So there's a volume by Eisenberg. You could have a look. It's called Minorities Within Minorities. It's an edited volume. And then there is Suzanne Okin, who wrote this very interesting piece. Is multiculturalism bad for women, right? So there is this sense that the old understanding of identity politics, identities as monolithic, this billiard ball understanding of identities, bounded, closed, regimented, and culture being the key category. So now even the question of culture, which was quite central to the multicultural understanding, you read Charles Taylor and so on and so forth, that has been problematized by the internal minorities literature. They challenge the cultural paradigm and talk about the internal others, right? So in a multicultural framework, the emphasis is on the external other. And in any identity construction, it is not only the external other which is important, but also the internal other, right? Because every identity is a dispersed, it's not monolithic, right? There are internal differentiation and then there are external. So the internal minorities discourse is basically emphasizing on the internal differentiations within identities, how the old male elite hegemonizes these identities, how the boundary maintenance mechanism happens, and how the internal voices, gender, lower caste, people of different sexual orientations, sexual minorities, children, how these voices get silenced because of the multicultural politics, because of this very strong sense of monolithic communities. So that is broadly the literature on internal minorities. What the Pasmanda movement is challenging, it is saying we are not even an internal minority. Because if we take, if you take their notion of affinity and social solidarity, they're talking of, they're breaching the question of internal minority. They're talking of creating a new kind of a majority, which is beyond the trappings of religion, right? And it's a lower caste, lower class, occupational solidarity across religions, right? So in that sense, I am also critiquing the semantic limitations of the internal minorities or minorities within minority frame. And that is where I'm keeping it nebulous and see how we could articulate that better, right? But that is all across. For example, I was in South Africa recently, right? So South Africa, there was a violence, Pretoria in 2021. Indian South Africans attacked black South Africans in 2021, right, in Phoenix. Now the question is, this clash is being seen as an Indian South African versus black South African clash. Now, who among the black South Africans? And who were the aggressors within the Indians? Because we know these are diversified categories. So if you talk about black South Africans, Zulu would be the hegemonic. There are 12 ethnicities. Some are hegemonic, a majority is not. If you talk about Indian South Africans, they are mercantile, Gujarati, Khoja, Bora communities that are very wealthy. And then there is the history of indentured labor, right? And they are Tamil, they are Andhra. So there are diversities within India, diversities and inequalities within Indian South Africans and also within the black South Africans. So that is what is happening. That is what we are trying to challenge. That don't work with monolithic identities. Look at the internal others because they are as consequential to the construction of an identity when compared to the external other. So that is the internal minority critique. Focus on the internal others. Yeah. What was your other question? Gender. So in Ali Anwar's book, again I missed that because I just skipped that. Not because I don't consider gender important, but it was one pager, so I thought I just mentioned gender somewhere. Anyhow, so in Ali Anwar's book Masawat Ki Jang, there is a chapter on Zaat, Paat or Pyar Nikah. It's on love marriages, right? And that is where, so for example, Ali Anwar uh, and Pasmanda activists, they contested this triple talaq thing right from day one, from 90s onwards. So they were very pro-women in that sense. And they were also open to inter-caste and interfaith marriages. And Ali Anwar, okay, let's not go into the personal things, personal trivia. But yeah, it's very important that endogamy be broken. Not only in inter-caste sense within the Muslim community, but even if there are intimate relationships outside the Muslim community, at least many core Pasmanda activists, they would be fine with that. So I leave it at that.
So when you talk about a different way of enumerating people that is not based on ascriptive birth-based caste identity, um, it it's like, yeah, I think that's a very radical proposition in, I think, democratizing. So I mean, it seems like it's kind of paving the way for a pan identity alliance where I mean, I'm trying to also imagine like what would be such criteria for enumeration, like whether it would be say educational backwardness or yeah, religious cultural rights and things like that, and so that seems to then also bring in say trans people or disabled people, and it goes beyond this whole conversation. So could you talk a little bit more about how you imagine this enumeration?
I said we never tried or attempt to imagine enumerating the population other than the caste. And also immediately don't get into class, because if you read V. Gita's latest book on Bhimrao Ambedkar and the socialist question in India, one of the classic book ever one can read, how left politics, progressive politics, completely ignorant, consciously ignorant of negating caste, because caste is one of the major unit of analysis in Indian society, but we are essentializing it again and again. So when you are essentializing it, then it becomes the permanent entity. So the fundamental core of the Indian constitution is transcending the traditional ascribed identity, for which we never had any attempt in terms of making enumerating a people other than caste. For example, Ford Foundation mid 90s introduced a foreign fellowship for a marginalized community, and where they have a 3 stage of application, the 3 stage of selection process, first stage and second stage, and where they ask the candidates parents' educational background, medium of study, and the income of the family, and also the fees they pay in the schools and the colleges, whether this, the candidate studied in a better elite school or elite college, where I studied Madras Christian College, but I didn't study elite school, but certainly I studied in elite college. So those kind of data, along with certainly the cost also taken into consideration. But Indian state, we have never trying to address genuinely. In also in Australia, affirmative or sorry, reservation kind of policy also there. Your educational loan there. But after the you get into employment, you have to repay the loan. Therefore, you can the state can support other set of needy people. So here, this policy of reservation, and first of all, they didn't understand the rationale behind the reservation policy. It is not affirmative action in America. Affirmative action in America is a policy. Reservation in India is a fundamental rights, enforceable in the court of law. In America, if any block did not given affirmative, based on affirmative program, admission or opportunity, black cannot go to the court and claim the justice. In the Michigan recent 10 years back, the judgment was white went to the court, like in India in the first amendment, Sembagam Durarajan from Tamil Nadu went to the court and asking to ban on the reservation of BC because I got more mark and somebody got less mark in a medical seat and I have been denied admission, and it went to Madras High Court. I think Madras High Court has upheld the state policy. Then she went to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court given a judgment in favor of Sembagam Durarajan, but the people that time made hue and cry. Then the new amendment has come. That new amendment, if the state is empowered to make a provision, the social group which are not adequately represented in the employment and education, and they should be educationally and socially backward, not economically. So that is where the amendment came in, this reservation OBC. Kaka Kalilkar report was their first OBC commission, backward class commission, but it is a 2-year exercise and the report was not taken for a consideration. Nehru rejected it. Mandal Commission has come. Mandal Commission recommendation was appointed, Mandal Commission appointed by the non-Brahmin government, Janata Dal, and it was implemented also non-Brahmin VP Singh, coalition Janata Dal. So Mandal Commission is North India, it may be a justifiable. This is justifiable. Mandal Commission in South India, if anyone reads this California University professor who squarely analyzed North India and South India, the reservation policy and the rationale of Mandal Commission. Ashutosh Vasani has clearly analyzed we should have a regional specific state intervention rather than the national specific intervention. Some alternative way of thinking should be there, but we have not tuned or we are not we are unable to think of, it might be radical, I said it is a radical, but the aim is to annihilate the caste. Aim is to make Indian society as a modernity, which is a project of the Indian Constitution abstract. But the Indian Constitution reality is a caste. The people who you exercise the Constitution. If I say K.R. Narayanan's phrase, whether we failed the Constitution or a Constitution failed us. Constitution is a document, but the person who was in the seat, they are dumb and deaf and casteist. That is the problem. We need to alternative thinking. Yeah, we need the diversity is fine. Diversity, because we could not force that identity should be my identity, everyone. The identity should be respected, revered equally, instead of condemning. Instead of condemning and humiliating. So you should, the people should be respected. Dignity of labor should be upheld. Self-individual rights should be upheld. And fellow human being should be practiced. So that is the fundamental core of, that is what Baba Sahib Ambedkar used to say, democracy nothing but associated life. It is associated life of society people.
Dr. Lakshman, do you have in mind, you must be remembering when Mandal 2 happened, Yogendra Yadav wrote certain pieces where he said there should be multiple criteria, right? And which was also the JNU old deprivation points policy. Backward district 5.0 to 5, caste 0 to 5, etc. Could that be one way in which, multiple deprivation points be mapped and accordingly the state intervenes?
That is why we have to think alternatively rather than, because now within a scheduled caste you have a in Tamil Nadu Arundhadiyar grouping, in Andhra Pradesh Madiga grouping come, and each other Arundhadiyar pit against Parayar and Pallar, and Madigas pitting against the Mala, and Andhra Pradesh, the Maharashtra Mangas against the Mahar, and UP Valmiki and Bangis are against the Jadhav or what is Chamar, Jadhav or Chamar, and Punjab. So across the country now, because of this this thing, my community is not able to utilize, benefited from the policy of reservation, and this was encouraged by the political class of the time. Andhra Pradesh, Chandrababu Naidu was instrumental in creating a Madiga Dandura. In Tamil Nadu, DMK was a backbone of this encouraging Arundhadir movement. In constitutionally it is invalid, 3% internal reservation, constitutionally invalid, is anti-constitution. Karnanidhi is one of the anti-constitution providing. Means the Supreme Court is banned. No, you cannot have a subcategory of a reservation. But Tamil Nadu is practicing, and it is allowed. So that is why this reservation, through reservation, caste was trying to be, we have understanding caste through reservation. Please leave a moment of reservation aside and understand the caste and how we could eliminate. Because of this 3% of opportunities, our entire energy goes.
My question is for Mr. Khalid. So, sir, in your lecture, you said that among Muslims, caste, biradari is referred as caste. I remember reading one article that was published in the Indian Express last year. It raised the question of whether it is caste or biradari among Muslims. So, like, I had this confusion. So, are these two different, like, conceptually different things, or it can be used interchangeably?
So usually, I mean, caste is supposed to be varna and jati is the operational category. So jati would be equivalent to biradri, right? So in that sense. And the other confusions are largely semantic, anthropological, and they emerge from this notion whether caste is Hindu or Muslim and so on and so forth. So that is the orthodox opinion, where caste is seen to be a Hindu phenomena that I have also discussed. But if you take the much more recent heterodox writings, Morton Class, Declan Quigley, even recent Sumit Guha's work Beyond Caste, so they would work with the notion of an ethnic identity and how those, and caste as an, jati as an ethnic identity, how it negotiates with the state, with faith, and with economy in different points of time, and how the boundary maintenance happens, how the boundary is renegotiated. So I feel that the orthodox view, the Dumontian view, or even Dr. Ambedkar, Periyar, they follow that view, very much informed by Orientalist and colonial view of caste, which is caste as Hindu phenomena. It does there are two problems with that frame. One, it cannot explain convincingly caste outside Hinduism, right? Pathans in Swat Valley and so on and so forth, one. And second, also the variations within the Hindu society itself. It cannot explain how Kerala caste is so different from Kashmir Hindu caste. I see great limitations of the orthodox opinion, and much of our problems in understanding caste is because of the grip of the orthodox imagination, orthodox framework. And we have to move toward heterodox understanding of caste in its specificity, in its regionality. So for me, that question, whether it is jati, whether it is upjati, biradri, caste within Muslims or anywhere, as an ethnic unit, look at the specific local translation, how it works in its daily interactions, in its interactions with the government, state, economy, and so on and so forth. So that would be my submission.
Good evening. I'll be quick. Today's discussions on the topic of universalizing caste, exploring the interface of caste, religion, and region, I think has been important to broaden our understanding of caste and how it functions in specific contexts, say in the case of religion, as explained by Dr. Ansari, or analyzing it in the context of space and time, which was elaborated by Dr. Lakshmanan and Ms. Semmala Selvi. I'm sure these discussions are essential for journalists to understand these dynamics while reporting on these topics, which are also very sensitive. I would like to thank all the speakers for their valuable insights today. I would also like to thank Dr. Nalini Rajan, the Dean, and faculty members Akash Poyam and Dr. Vikas Pathak for organizing this seminar. And of course, I'd like to thank Mr. Sashi Kumar, Chairman of the Asian College of Journalism, for his constant support in encouraging these initiatives. And of course, my thanks to all the faculty members for their valuable inputs for this seminar. The admin team, technical team, system admin team, canteen team, and all the other support staff have been instrumental in handling the logistics of this event. So my special thanks to them. And of course to the students for their active participation in the discussions. I hope this adds to the earlier discussions we have had on the topic of castes and tribes and encourages further conversations within newsrooms and in the media. Have a good weekend. Thank you.